being married and in a ministry together. How does that work? Today, Jennifer and Brett Black from Point of Grace are in the studio, and we'll talk about that live here on The View.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
Thank you and welcome. It's the Friday edition of The View from a Pew here at webcast1live.com. We appreciate you listening and watching. We know that you have lots of choices at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on what you can do, and the fact that you're joining us live is very humbling, and I appreciate it. If you're watching or listening to this on a podcast, welcome. We know, again, you have millions of choices, and for whatever reason, you've chosen to listen to this podcast. I'm sure it has everything to do with my guest today, Brett and Jennifer Black. Brett is the lead pastor at Point of Grace. And do you have a title?
I don't.
You're
his wife.
The first wife.
First wife.
The first lady. You're the first lady at Point of Grace.
Well, at home, she's the queen.
She's the queen.
Right.
Okay, but you're the first lady at Point of Grace, aren't you?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. You're actually a professional photographer.
I am. Yes.
Yeah. You take pictures.
Yep, that's what I do.
We'll talk about that a little later. But it is no doubt that the two of you minister together.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're like connected.
Our entire life, ever since we started out, we started on the road together.
Yeah. And so I want to talk a little bit about that too. But my wife was a preacher's daughter. My mother-in-law was a preacher's daughter. And my wife's grandmother was a preacher's daughter. And so I've kind of had this sideline view of religion as a business. And I don't mean it as a business like some people would say critically, but I mean that's the family business.
Yeah.
The family business is pastoring to people and being there in their worst and their best times. And inspiring. Well, I guess you should be telling me what you do rather than me telling you.
Well, it is a business from the standpoint that you do want to take care of things well and you want to run it well. From the family side of it, my dad was involved in ministry, most of his life as well. He's a pastor today, and I am, and my brother's been in ministry. So, and Jennifer's been around it her whole life. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, where is your father still a pastor?
He pastors at a church in Van Wert, Iowa, which is Van Wert.
Oh, Van Wert.
Van Wert, south of Osceola, just maybe 11 miles. Something like that.
Is that where you were born and raised?
I grew up in Osceola.
Osceola.
Yeah.
Okay.
Graduated from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I recall from what your dad told me once, you guys went to Jimmy Swaggart's church?
We did, yeah.
Every Sunday?
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, his son is in ministry now, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
Is Jimmy? This is an embarrassing question. Is Jimmy still with us?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
He still speaks too.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't do TV like he used to, or maybe I'm not.
I think Donnie probably does most of it.
Yeah, I think
But
so.
I think Jimmy probably every now and then still does.
Yeah.
Okay. How old were you when the famous sermon in which he admitted his adultery and, that famous scene of him crying in front of the congregation? Do you remember that?
I do. I would have been about 5th grade.
Okay.
So whatever
And
that puts
were
me
you
at.
there that Sunday?
We were.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I just hate what the non-believing secular world does to pastors when,
Yeah.
and I don't even call it a fall from grace. It's just being alive and human. And
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
think of the Duggars right now. How they're just getting
terrible.
slaughtered. And yeah, what he did was I don't know.
What?
I had somebody say this. What he did at age 14 is no different than what I did at age 14.
Right. I agree.
Now, I don't know about you, but at 14, me and girls, we were getting to know each other.
Sure. And I haven't even heard any of the details really, but just the way the media is handling it in general, I think is horrible.
Yeah.
Why mess with a family to that degree that really is a good family?
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah. Well, if you choose to live in the limelight, you're going to have to accept when they catch the blemishes, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to look for them.
Yeah. I know that my kids, every once in a while, and my daughter's 40-something now, and my son's 36, and my youngest is 28. But every once in a while during family events, we'll talk about, and it saddens me what it was like to be J. Michael McCoy's kid growing up
I'm sure it was tough. Yeah.
while they were here. But that's because I made a lot of mistakes, and they were always public. We live in a glass bubble. I'm sure you think about that a lot.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, everything you do. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be human. It really is. From your words, it really to wonder who's going to try to conjure something up or make something up, or if you do anything that is just a little bit questionable in someone's eyes and they want to make a big deal of it, they will. And then it can hurt a lot of things.
Yeah. And the thing that always confuses me, and you guys have been followers of Christ for most of your life.
Yeah.
You got to remember, I'm a new Christian. I'm about 5 years into this. I don't know how much of my story you know, but I was a God guy.
Yeah.
And I would blatantly say to people on the radio, I don't get this Jesus thing. What do I need with the kid when I've got the Father? And somebody'd say, well, what about that Bible verse? Nobody gets to the Father but through me. Well, it scared the heck out of me.
Right.
And
That's true.
If you questioned that to me, I'd manipulate a little bit, and I'd give you one of those looks and, push you back a little bit. But inside, it scared the heck out of me. But I still have that fire that wants to push back when somebody pushes on my faith or things in the news. And yet it just seems that the more mature in Christianity that I get, I always end up with the answer, we're just here to love them. We're just here to love them. But I sure wish somebody inside of our circle, whoever our circle is, I don't know if that's a movie star that is an out-of-the-closet Christian and he's willing to talk about it, but somebody ought to just stand up and say, well, can you leave the Duggars alone?
I agree.
Seriously?
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to pick
I
on
agree.
somebody, pick on me.
Yeah.
Pick on somebody your own size.
Yeah. I agree.
We were watching a what was it? Oh, well, it was at your church. It was the Family, Faith, and Freedom
Coalition.
Coalition, and it was Walker. No. Was Walker there?
He was there.
Okay, so it was Walker, and he was being interviewed by somebody at ABC, and he said something about how do you feel about gay whatever in Christianity? And he said, I don't know, have you ever asked a gay person what they think of Christians? And he would not back down, and he would not let this reporter crawl on top of him and force him to go the nice way. And I was impressed.
Yeah.
He was smart about it. He was kind about it. He was considerate about it. But anyway. So, Brett and Jennifer Black, my guests today from Point of Grace Church. 2 services on Sunday. What time are they?
Well, normally we do have 2 services, but for the summer, we've actually combined everybody together.
Okay.
And so we've got 1 service all the way through the summer at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay.
Yep.
10 a.m. All right.
That's through the end of August.
And is your lovely daughter still the praise band leader?
Yeah,
Worship
she is.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worship director?
Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, she's got an incredible voice. Well, all your girls do. I still go back every once in a while and listen to the show that you guys did at Christmas.
That was fun.
That was spectacular. We could get a whole praise band in the new studio.
Oh, yeah, right. You could. You got a lot of room
we
in
could
there.
get everybody in here. Okay, so I want to talk to you for a second, Jennifer, if
Okay.
I can.
Sure.
What do you feel your role is when you know that your husband's dealing with some unreasonable church members who are pushing their weight around? Can I say it that way?
Yeah.
You know, somebody, I've always heard that if you have no power at work, then you wield power at home or at church. And so a lot of times you have people that overstep their bounds as a member and forget that what member means. Member means you wash the dishes.
Right.
Member means you grab a broom and you clean it. Member means you're there to help everybody there. Member is not a position of power or authority. But you've both seen it, I'm sure, multiple times. What do you do as a wife in that point?
That's good. Well,
She tries not to get mad.
I was
I was
going
going
to
to
say,
say, you probably want to just go knock on the person's door.
it depends. Yes, there are those times when I do feel very defensive.
Yeah.
And it makes me really irritated. And I'd like to tell them a thing or two from being on this side of the fence, knowing what's going on over here and realizing that they only have a limited view from their side. And I think a lot of times, too, I think that church people don't understand how when negativity comes to his office, it oftentimes can affect the whole family unit.
Sure. No,
Because depending on that person and their position or their place in the church, it can affect our kids. If they're a family that we have get-togethers with and we have teenage daughters, so if our kids babysit their kids and our lives personally are intertwined, it really can affect the whole family unit if something happens and they say, we're gone, or there's just conflict or stress that's unforeseen.
And people exiting from the church unsatisfied has got to be a regular occurrence.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
I mean, all the time, right?
All the time.
And unfortunately, it happens wrong. They do it wrong most of the time.
Yeah.
Tell me what right is and tell me what wrong is.
Well,
What does it look like if they do it right?
Yeah, well, to do it right would be if you have a genuine disagreement or you have maybe it's a different philosophy and you've talked that out and we say there's no way to get around this. We just have a differing opinion.
We're going to agree to disagree.
We're going to agree to disagree. And if that's enough for you to say, I'm going to have to fellowship somewhere else, then you should just do that, and you should do that quietly. You should just go ahead and move on and find a place that you can back 100%. But to cause problems or to gossip or to backbite, cause division, I think what most people don't really understand is it will affect us. It'll affect people in the church, but really you're not ultimately hurting us. You're hurting God's church, which is a very dangerous place to live.
That's where the accuser works.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible. And to actually be on that side where you are going to hurt the church is, I don't know, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes when it came to Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Well,
and let's face it, most people, I grew up, my dad used to say, well, just consider the source. And he'd say it humbly and nicely, just consider the source. And when I learned what that meant, it changed things for me. Because when Bob, I'm just making up a name here, when Bob gets all mad at whatever he gets mad at and goes whiffing out of the church and tells all these people that he's leaving and da-da-da-da-da, most people say, well, that's Bob. We're glad he's gone.
sure.
We never wanted to say
Sometimes
that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we're glad he's gone because he seems to like to cause problems.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah. And sometimes people, put it out there on Facebook. With social media today,
Oh,
that's
crazy.
even worse
It's
because
everywhere.
they'll throw it out on Facebook. They'll send it out on Twitter. They'll say every little thing they don't like. And again, the sad part is it comes back to that's a very small percentage. I mean, 1 or 2% of the people in the church are going to gripe and complain.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it affects the masses. Instead of 98% of the people who love what's going on and appreciate what's going on, you don't hear from them as much as you hear from that 1 or 2%.
1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Brett and Jennifer Black are my guests today from Point of Grace. During the summer, they have one worship service every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Point of Grace is in Waukee, right there on the north side of Hickman. Is there a cross street or a
It'd be Dartmoor.
Dartmoor?
Right
All
across from the Dairy Queen.
Ooh, we all know where the Dairy Queen in Waukee is.
Dartmoor is that street.
All right, when we come back, we'll continue conversations about pastoring a church, being married and pastoring a church, and what it's like to be a Preacher's Family. Next, here live on Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour. It's a beautiful day. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We are recording this program as well as broadcasting it live, and you may be hearing this on 99.3 sometime after this has been recorded, because this will be what I call a timeless show. It won't be time sensitive. So it's being recorded on the 5th day of June in 2015, and I'm with Pastor Brett Black and his wife Jennifer Black, and you're not officially a pastor.
Correct, I'm not.
But that's all it is just officially, right?
Right.
I mean, you have as much, if not more, responsibility and floodlights on you as your husband does, I would imagine.
Sure, absolutely.
How do you, as a mom, okay, now we talked about, your husband is getting chewed from somebody in the congregation, and, you want to throw frying pans and eggs at him, but you don't.
Right.
Because if you did,
that'd be bad.
Multiplies the whole thing. Right?
Yeah.
Worse. But what about when they come after your kids?
It's good. It doesn't happen very often. It hasn't happened very often.
Well, and you have good kids too. That helps.
They are good kids, but they're perfectly normal, just like everybody else's kids.
I'm sure they are, but
Yeah.
And ornery.
And ornery, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't catch them smoking under the bleachers during sermon.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
But what happens when somebody, especially with Malia, now she's your worship leader.
Yeah.
Sure.
So she's could be scrutinized by people who don't like the way she sets up the music for worship.
And
Sure.
is.
It is.
And
yeah.
is. And that
it-
comes back to me.
It is what?
She is scrutinized.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that comes back to you.
Sure.
How do you separate dad from boss?
I try to legitimately look at the issue and say, okay, is this a personality conflict, or is this a legitimate, okay, the music didn't go right, or it wasn't directed right, or it wasn't communicated right, something like that, you know? So I just separate from that standpoint. If I feel like somebody's just got an issue, I generally just put my arm around her and tell her it kind of comes with the territory, and you know, hang in there and love on her.
Well, and I think that that's something him and I are actually both pretty good at, is trying to separate parental feelings too much from our girls. So if somebody does come to us, we can try to be as objective as possible. You know, I think we even do a good job with that at school and everything. You know, we don't pretend that our kids are perfect and they do everything right. So I think overall, whether it's school or church, when somebody approaches us, we listen and we try to filter through to see, okay, what of this, you know, legitimately we need to go have a chat at home about, and what of it is just a personality difference.
And Jennifer, is it the same thing that you just can't go to the parishioner and set them straight?
I think that would really depend on the issue. You know, I mean, like I try to, a lot of people think they know about music and they really don't.
Right.
You know, they think they understand, you know, when they're going to get there, you know, you can do this song, or you should be able to do this song or this style, and it's not that easy. You know, it depends on who's leading, what their vocal range is, what their stylish, you know,
Stylistically.
all of that
able to
matters,
do.
and most people don't ever understand that. So, you know.
Because you were the worship leader before.
I've been a worship leader most of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can have great empathy
Yeah.
for your daughter as she stands up and does that.
Yeah. Well, and what I also try to, you know, explain to people is most of that music comes through me anyway.
Okay.
I mean, she does work for me,
Okay.
you know, so when she's setting things up, I see all the music that goes out. Now, I don't necessarily pick it all, but if there's a song that I'm like, I'm not necessarily feeling that one this week, I'll tell her that, and she'll change it. And so most of that music comes through me anyway. So I try to tell people, you know what, don't get mad at her. You can get mad at me, because I've approved most of that anyway.
Yeah. Brett and Jennifer Black are my guests. Brett is the lead pastor at Point of Grace Church on West Hickman in Waukee. Services at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning for the summer. And Jennifer is a professional photographer and full-time mom with four girls at home. Now, your oldest is what, 21?
She's 20.
20. And then you've got
16.
And then 2.
They're about to turn 15.
And those are twins.
Twins.
Yeah. You remember those folks because they came and sang for us on Christmas. I think we need to make that a tradition. Let's talk about, for a moment, the struggles that come when tragedy strikes a family. You know, you have to deal with it, I would imagine, every week. And here's what I mean by tragedy. Someone passes away.
Sure, yeah.
Unexpected or expected. Unexpected is never good. Expected doesn't make it any easier.
Right.
But you also have situations where young children are taken from us. And you're called in. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking about when you're driving to the hospital or driving to the funeral home? Or what? The pressure must be just, and maybe pressure is the wrong word, but the responsibility you feel must be incredible.
Yeah, you know, and at this church it's a little bit different because it's a large enough church that we do have a care pastor that really does a lot of that. Wayne Papa,
Wayne Mullen.
Yeah, I call him Papa.
Yeah,
so
great guy.
He's phenomenal, and I don't know that I've seen anybody care for people in that time of need better than Papa Wayne. I mean, he just does a phenomenal job, and so he really does most of that at Point of Grace. But I think the biggest thing you can do is just simply put your arm around them and love them. You know, I think the mistake people try to make is to come up with all kinds of the right words to say.
Yeah.
Hey, I understand how you feel, or you know, all of those different things that you probably really don't understand. And I think the best thing you can do is say, you know what, I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. I'm here to pray for you, but not to be more than what you should be. And I think you would even understand that as much because you worked for a funeral home for quite some time, and so she was put in that position many a time.
Yeah, I agree. I think just saying you're sorry and that you love them, or that you're here for them, or making yourself available, I think that really does go the farthest.
Now, with you working at a funeral home at one point in your career, you also dealt with secular death.
Sure.
Then, how's that different?
Oh, boy. Well, I mean, as a believer, I think, you know, the biggest difference that you see is knowing that they have an eternal home with Christ or not, you know, and having that peace and that comfort.
Hope there.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot more hope there. So other than that, I mean, I would say for me, that's the biggest part of what you see that's different. I mean, because grief all looks about the same, except for us as believers, when we believe that our loved one is in heaven. I mean, obviously the grief still is there, but I think there is a peace that underlies because of knowing that they're with.
Absolutely. I would agree. At any age. At any age.
Right.
You know, you talked about, if I could say, your uncle.
Yeah.
And just in his sleep.
Yeah.
Didn't wake up.
Yeah. This week.
What a way to go.
Yeah. I mean, if suppose you're going to go.
Yeah. But you don't miss him any less.
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, all the images and all the things you see and the pictures and, you know, all those experiences. Yeah. They're there and they're real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
How do you think God wants us to treat death when it's among a fellow believer? Because I was always amazed by, and I may get this biblically incorrect, but when he called somebody to come with him, and he said, well, I have to go home and bury my dad. And wasn't the answer, let the dead bury the dead, you come with me?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I mean, I suppose you can look at that a lot of different ways. I mean, there's a lot of things that in life want to capture our attention over Christ. Like Christ is the ultimate. But how we handle death, I mean, to me, it's a celebration. It's, you know, yes, we mourn, yes, we grieve, all of those things. But I mean, it should be a celebration, especially if they know Christ, that they're not here anymore. They're not in that grave. They are really to be absent from the body. The Scripture says is to be present with Christ.
God, yeah.
Now, if that's the case, you know, that's no better scenario.
Brett and Jennifer Black are my guests today. Brett is lead pastor at Point of Grace Church out on West Hickman, and services at 10 a.m. every Sunday. And Jennifer is his bride of how many years?
23.
23 years. And both coming from a pastoral background in their lives. They have 4 beautiful children. And I would encourage you to check out Point of Grace. You know, 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. If you don't go to the church you're going to for a Sunday, they won't miss you. And if they do, you're probably making yourself way too necessary at church. So stretch out. I try once a month to go to a different church. Now, that's only 12 different churches in a year, but I learned so much by going to other churches and listening to sermons and watching how they do worship. And you'll get a wonderful, complete picture of how all of God's children worship him, especially in a worship service or a church service. So encourage you to check out Point of Grace sometime. Now, you are a photographer.
Yes.
What makes a good photographer?
You know, for me, I think it's different for everybody because it really depends a lot about what your passion is in photography. But I think the underlying part of it for me comes back to listening to your client, good customer service. I don't know. I think listening to them. I mean, this is their photo shoot. They're hiring you to create a vision for their family, for something that's going to hang on their wall for a long time. So you should really be collaborating with them to create the art that they're looking for that will last forever.
Yeah.
So I think listening to them and being available and providing good customer care.
And I would say just listening to her is what makes a good photographer, because she's actually looking for the art. She's looking for the experience. It's not just a cattle call of, get them in, get them out as fast as you can. It's taking time to know them, help them to have an experience.
How much of your business is weddings? Half?
No, no, not even. I would say that I do anywhere from 6 to 12 weddings a year. I try to do no more than one a month. June's a little bit different month for me. I'm doing 3 this month. I was supposed to do 4. But my heavy emphasis is not on weddings. Actually, one of my favorite emphasis is, especially like on senior girls. I have a really big passion for, girls loving who they are. And that doesn't matter if they're a senior girl or women in general. I feel that we live in an era that's way too over photoshopped. I offer very, very minimal of those services. I mean, unless the client specifically asks for it, then we do provide for them what they ask for. But I really have a passion for girls loving who they are and who Christ has made them to be. And I don't want them to come to me and me change them to something that I think they should be. I want them to come in and I want them to see the best true version of themselves.
Yeah, the genuine. We're with Brett and Jennifer Black. Point of Grace is their church. Brett's the senior pastor there, lead pastor, and his wife and family also participate. When we come back, weddings. What's it like to be a pastor and do weddings? And premarital counseling. We'll talk about that when we come back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
if you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Boy, if you had come into the middle of that conversation, would you have liked that? 2:38, 22 before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at the top. And then, of course, it's the Steve Deace. Live here on 99.3 The Truth. We were talking about marital counseling and weddings. And that's got to be, is that one of the best things about the job?
I love weddings, yeah, and I love the journey of really watching two come together and begin to develop that relationship, and knowing that it's very likely going to be the right one, and then just walking them through that day, and really the whole journey of watching them come together, get married, have kids. That it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Now, do you presently do premarital counseling?
We actually have someone on staff who does most of that too.
Okay.
But we also have what we call marriage mentors in the church that are doing a lot of counseling and working with
One-to-ones.
marriages. Yeah.
Okay. But you were talking
I do
earlier
some, yeah.
that there was a church that you did it all.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How do you, you can't tell me this hasn't happened, where you go through a couple counseling sessions and you just want to say, you guys shouldn't get married.
Oh, you have.
I have.
Oh,
You
have you?
have?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Because it's your responsibility to say so.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, it's on me. If I'm getting ready to marry them, and I know for sure they're not going to make it past next week, that's on me. I've got to really tell them the truth and be honest with them. And even if that's postponed, don't do it yet. Let's wait. Let's make sure things are in the right order.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have there been couples that you've suggested that and they've gone and did it anyway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. There's been cases where they wanted to get married. I wouldn't marry them, and they went and got married somewhere else.
Okay. And now, do you follow those relationships to see if you were right or wrong?
In some cases, I have. I mean, there's been just a couple that I was pretty sure wouldn't last, and they didn't.
Yeah.
That's sad. It really is.
Sure, it is. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's
It's sad anytime. It's worse for me when a year down the road or 2 years down the road and they've already had a child.
Yeah.
And then they split up. That's to me that's just horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
God doesn't hate. The Bible says God hates divorce.
sure.
My take on that, and I'd be encouraged to hear yours, but my take on that is what he doesn't like, and we were talking about it earlier with churches. It's not just a divorce between a man and a woman. It's also a divorce from a family, from a church.
Yeah.
It is.
There's so many scenarios. It can hurt the family. It can hurt a relationship at church.
Yep.
Friends, friend groups, all of those things. It has a horrible after effect.
Yeah. How much pastoring do you do that is, how do I put this, life-changing for the person who's coming to you?
Well, I think that really happens in the personal relationship, the mentoring side of it. I can teach anybody scripture, but I think it's when you get in there and you begin to develop some personal relationship with somebody and you walk through some situations, some tough times, some good times.
Yeah.
That's when the life really changes.
Yeah. That's when you get to make that opportunity to really make a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah. And getting to spend enough time with them to see that happen. That takes years.
Yeah.
To really see that life change take place.
Now, how long have you guys been here?
We've been at Point of Grace. It would have been 2 years in March.
Okay, so you're beginning those really powerful relationships and starting to work on those as well as the people work on them with you.
Yeah, and it really does take effort to make that happen. And there's enough people at Point of Grace that, if you don't specifically set times to get with people, it just doesn't happen. There's just too many things going on all at the same time.
Yeah. And Sunday morning isn't a good time to get pulled away and probably try to do a little one-on-one because there's so many people there that want your and need your attention.
Oh, yeah. You pretty much have to get to as many people as you can on that day because that may be the only time you get to see them all week.
Yeah.
So I try to get to as many people as possible. I'm a very relational guy. I mean, my dad was one of the best I've ever seen at just knowing people and loving on people. And I don't think I'm near as good as he is, but I do love people and, genuinely.
Is he as good as his dad, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're different, but there is similarities between the two of them. But I think their approach is just a little bit different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How would you say your approach is different from your dad's?
I don't know. I'm not to say that I'm not a good old boy and make that sound like it's a bad thing, but my dad is the guy he'd go to the farm and hang out with you at the farm. He's just that man.
Yeah.
And for me, I like to get with people and talk with them and hang out with them, but I don't know that relationship would be as deep as maybe my dad would take that.
Yeah.
And
that may be generational too.
It could be.
My dad was much like your father, or is much like your father.
Yeah.
My parents just moved from Connecticut. First of all, they spent 75 years in our hometown, except for when they were in college and Dad was in the war.
Okay.
Otherwise, 75 years, and my dad knew everybody in
yeah.
this little town of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, they just moved to California, all right, and that's because my sister lived there. And my dad already has met the Ford dealer, because he was a Ford dealer. He's already met the pharmacist. And I'm not kidding you. We've talked about this. Yeah. Pharmacist. He's met his doctor. He knows the guy. He knows a couple of the girls that work at whatever their version of the come and go is. I mean, that's just what Dad does.
Yeah.
He goes out and creates those relationships.
Yeah. And my dad, the same thing. I mean, I can remember as a kid walking down the street following him and would be like, oh, come on. I mean, you're talking to somebody else. It's like we'd get 15 feet and there'd be one more person that would stop him. And, I can just see that big smile and he'd give him a big hug. And, I would love to be that. But it's different.
You are.
Yeah.
Well, of course you're different. I mean, you don't want to be a carbon copy.
No, but there's a lot of things that he does very well. So.
Well, I'm sure you're close behind him. I don't come to your church, but when I do see you, you seem like that type of person.
Well, and you hope people feel that way. The tough part is when there's somebody who doesn't. You know what I mean? And again, it's that 2% again that affects you mentally. Yeah. When you go home at night and you're like, well, I didn't build that relationship the way I needed to, and I hope they're not mad, and I hope they're not upset, and I hope they're not going to leave. I mean, those 1 or 2% are the one that gets in your head at night, But you hope you love on people well.
Yeah, well, some of us make it hard. I'll never forget, as long as I live, when Mike, my pastor, was preaching one day, and I don't know, everybody does. They sit in the same place, right?
For the most part,
people are like, all right, well, I'm always in the same place. And he's talking about whatever he's talking about, and he gets to the point, he said, now there are those people that I call EGRs, and those are extra grace required. Mac, you understand that, don't you? And my wife's laughing at me, and the whole church is laughing at me. But, Mike and I sat down and talked about that because he thought maybe he rubbed me, and I said, it's hilarious. Just explain to me what an EGR is. And when he explained an EGR, I went, oh, that is me. I do resemble that remark. And every pastor has them.
Yeah.
Every pastor has them. And I imagine they challenge you to be better at your job and to probably learn a higher level of patience and tolerance than you'd normally have to have.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming in today. I always enjoy talking to you. I always enjoy having you and your girls around, and I mean this one too.
Absolutely. Me too.
I bet. I love her dad. Her dad is one of my favorite people. I just don't get to see him. We used to do, you tell him, bad boy.
Okay, I'll tell him.
He used to come around every Wednesday morning to our Bible study, and I don't think he's been there for a year now.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
All right,
Seriously.
I'll work on this.
Yeah, Rick, if you're listening, okay? But I love you. All right, and to your girls, the best, and hope to see you soon.
And to your family, we love you guys here. This is a great great radio station.
Thank you.
We love what you're doing.
Thank you. We love that we get to do it.
Yep.
All right. I haven't talked about Caitlyn Jenner yet. I didn't want to do it with a pastor in the room and make them coppable. So when we come back, my thoughts on Caitlyn Jenner next.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer